This is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio, and I'm here with David Ellefson of the band Ellefson and, of course, Megadeth. How you doing today, Dave?
Great. Doing well, man. Doing well.
Awesome. You got the new covers album out by the band Ellefson, No Cover.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. You didn't really start out to make a covers album, did you?
We didn't. No, we originally we were going to drop a full-length album of original material on Halloween. And of course, once everything started shutting down earlier this year, we continued the plan of dropping this song Simple Truth in April, and we used that as an opportunity. Actually, we donated the money, the proceeds from that off of Bandcamp. We donated that over to the Italian Red Cross COVID-19 Relief Fund. And then we pushed out in May our cover of the Post Malone song Over Now, which we pushed those out. That was the schedule we had because I was going to go to Japan and Australia in May. So we figured, well, look, those tours are now pushed back until November of 2021. But we stayed the course of putting the music out, and which I think was kind of cool. Just to, keep new material in the pipeline. And of course, as the world was shutting down and tours were going away, I think people appreciated to hear some new music, and they were liking the sound of the band, which is great. And so by June, Tom and I got on the phone, and we said, look, this October thing is just, it's not realistic to drop a new record of new music. There's no way to tour it. You can't go out and support it, So we quickly pivoted over to some cover songs, and which then turned into a double album, 4-side vinyl, 18 songs plus a bonus track, no cover album. And but it's funny because we had the thing pretty much recorded through the month of June and early July. We actually started mixing by like mid-July. So things moved along quickly with this thing. It was definitely a labor of love. We called in a bunch of our friends to join in on the fun and be part of it. And, now here we are in December, 6 months later, going, hey, this was kind of a victory lap for everybody. We all got to work on some new music together. So as much as it has my name on it, Ellefson as our band name, I really feel like we did this for the betterment of our community. We brought our friends together. We celebrated some songs we all grew up on, and we got to be very collaborative in a time that was trying to push us apart. The music found a way to bring us back together again. So I look at it as a big win for the rock and roll musicians and our fans.
Absolutely. How did you decide which one of your friends was going to appear on which track?
Well, that came after we started putting the songs down, to be honest with you. This was not sort of designed on the onset to be a sort of an all-star record, nor was it designed to be sort of a checklist of all the heavy metal bands, like, Black Sabbath, check, Judas Priest, check, AC/DC, it wasn't that. It was me and Tom just going, these are the songs I'd like to cover. And that went from Tom, everything from Free Will Burnin' to Wasp to Twisted Sister song. And then for me was everything from Sweet, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Fastway, etc. So, in fact, quite honestly, the Free Will Burnin' and Beth, so a Judas Priest and the Kiss song were I think the two last songs we put on the record. Riff Raff for me was the very first AC/DC song I ever heard off of a live album they had with Bon Scott called If You Want Blood. So those were the kind of deep cuts that we went to. We didn't want to just go for the sort of the hit single. We didn't do Ballroom Blitz. We did Sweet FA instead.
Right,
we didn't do Taking Care of Business. We did Not Fragile from Bachman Turner Overdrive. So it was, this record is a reflection of the songs that really did something for both me and Tom, and Wasted, for instance, by Def Leppard. I played that in cover bands, my band when I was in high school, and I played that at many school proms and stuff like that, and that was pretty heavy song back in that day, and largely unknown. Def Leppard didn't really start to get known until they had some singles off High and Dry, and of course by Pyromania they were an arena rock staple. But it's that first record to me was the one that that was my introduction to Def Leppard right from the beginning, and they were a big part of the new wave of British heavy metal. With Iron Maiden and Motorhead and Venom and Diamond Head. And, it's just interesting that, they really went on to really ring the bell at the top, once they, Mutt Lange got involved and they changed their sound. But that first record, man, that's a staple, So Frank Hannon, who played guitar on it, for instance, from Tesla, he's good friends with Def Leppard. They tour with Def Leppard a lot. Tesla does, and but he was like, "Oh man," he goes, "That's the song, man. That's the one." We all played that in our bands growing up, So it was fun to have those kind of connections, between all of us musicians who played on the album as well.
Right. I'm more of a Stage Fright guy from I think that's the same album we're talking about. But
yeah, right.
Speaking of Def Leppard. You got a little bit of crap for the cover of No Cover looking like On Through the Night.
I don't give a shit. Those people are fucking idiots. It's like, it's exactly what it is. It is an homage, a respectful homage out of respect to Def Leppard. And that's the point of it is, the people that don't get that, I'm like, geez, dude, especially the ones that go, "Hey man, did you know that looks like," it's like, yeah, we knew. It's like that album changed my life. It's like, it'd be like if we did a cover of Kiss Destroyer. It's like, yeah, we do know there is an album, like that. So, and it's a recreation. It's not like we just lifted the original assets and, it's a recreation of it and everything. So, but we did it out of, again, a totally respectful homage to Def Leppard, and if you've read the interviews of us, you've heard me gush over and over about, especially that record. That record was a real game changer for me because they were very young. They were teenagers when they made that record. They were signed to Mercury Records. The picture on the back, they're on stage opening for AC/DC. Q Prime was managing them, who managed Metallica. They got connected, and it's funny because, Raven are friends of mine, and I interviewed John Gallagher for a friend of mine's just little, Facebook interview thing. And he was talking about how back in the day, Raven, who, the first tour that Metallica did, because they're both signed to Megaforce. So the Kill 'Em All for One tour, the Kill 'Em All record and the Raven All for One record came out, and they toured together across the US. And they were talking about how, when they were first, gigging around, in the UK, especially when they went through Sheffield, the Def Leppard guys would all come out, and they were very young, but they would always come out to the Raven shows. They'd come out and see what was happening, and and Iron Maiden, of course, were very young back in that day when they first got started. But I think Def Leppard were the young, at least that. So it's interesting. Diamond Head, of course, got all this respect from Metallica, and what an influence they were to the Big Four, era essentially. But that Def Leppard record, that was a game changer. If I had to pick one out that really kind of said, "Hey, David Ellefson, like, you can do this. You're a teenager." Keep the faith, keep moving forward. Like you can do this, and it's funny. The big four was really thrash metal was the genre that came right after the new wave of British heavy metal. And and I don't even know if Def Leppard plays any tracks off that record. I was talking to Vivian Campbell because Last in Line had opened for Megadeth in Milan a few years back, and they don't really pay too much attention to that record, I guess, but for us metalheads, come on, that's the one. So, and I get it. Look, Megadeth, I guess we're probably the same with Killing Is My Business. These young fans and older fans alike. Oh man, play something off Killing Is My Business. And me and Dave, that was so long ago. We've moved so far past that with so many other songs. But as time goes on in our bands, people like to go back to the beginning, and hear these early things, So I guess On Through the Night is like Def Leppard's Killing Is My Business,
So did you try to get anyone from Def Leppard to sing on this one?
No, I didn't. I didn't reach over to anybody there. I honestly, again, there was a couple people. I mean, Tom is friends with Eddie Ojeda. Of course, we roast a coffee for him. We do his Dark and Twisted coffee, his signature roast with Ellefson Coffee Company. And and I've been friends with JJ and D for sure over the years. Now Mark Mendoza has a great podcasting that he does, live stream thing like this. So we've been on that a couple times with him. But Tom reached to Eddie he said, "Hey, I want to do a Twisted Sister song and would love for you to play on it. What do you want to do?" And he suggested Tear It Loose. So that was actually him. And he played on that. And it's funny because he played the solo where normally JJ French plays the solo on that song. So that gave him a moment to step up and shine on that. And then also we had Russ Parrish come in and play on the Fight song because he was in Fight. Of course, we now know him as Satchel from Steel Panther. Yeah. But Russ was in Fight. And I had a band in the 2000s called F5, and we covered Nailed to the Gun. And I had Jimmy DeGrasso cut the track for us. And that's why I called Jimmy back. I said, "Hey, you want to do it again?" Put the drums down on that one. So, and it's funny because then Andrew Freeman, of course, who sings in Last in Line, and with Vivian Campbell, a member of Def Leppard. It's just funny. We had him. He came in and saying, "I nailed to the gun," and then I hit him. I said, "Hey, man, you want to throw a vocal on this Over the Mountain track that we have?" And I had Jimmy play drums on it. So it's fun. It's just friends brought other friends in. Jimmy brought Andrew in, and I reached over to Todd Kearns, who plays bass now for Slash, and I hit him on Sweet FA. Pretty involved vocal. The vocal itself has a kind of a higher pitch, very clean. The singing back in the 70s was very clean, so he sang that great, and then stacked all those harmonies up. Todd's amazing, man. I mean, great, very talented musician, guitar, bass, writer, singer. Really kind of does it all. So. It's fun just to kind of flip through your phone or just, and honestly, the truth of it is a lot of these things, like they'll hit you as you're just doing it. You go, "Oh my God, we got to call Dave." Got to see, we gave him a couple of choices and he chose Riff Raff, which is, again, Dave and I are about the same age. And, so he, we both grew up on those records, so it's you kind of go to where your comfort zone is too.
Absolutely. You guys managed to do a little bit of touring. You did like a little local thing, didn't you?
We did. Yeah. We went back to the Midwest, and we did 5 shows, 4 concerts and a live stream, but 5 shows essentially. And yeah, kind of harrowing because it was right as Illinois was locking down. The governor was locking the state down the night we were in Chicago. But boy, I tell you what, the places, were respectfully, socially distanced, full. As we didn't want there to be jam packed. I mean, this was one of those times where you're like, God, I hope a whole bunch of people don't show up to your show, and I hope they wear masks. And I just, but everybody was very respectful. You could tell people had been locked up for a long time. Of course, there's been no live music. I should say locked down, not locked up. They weren't in jail. They were just quarantined,
It feels like locked up.
It does, doesn't it? I know. So people were very happy to have some live music. And, so it felt good to go out there and do that. I probably wouldn't have done it if we would have known we wouldn't have just intentionally walked straight into such a red zone hotspot, but the dates had been on sale for a couple months. So we just stayed the course with it, and sometimes you just got to persevere and get through it.
So where does this leave the new Ellefson studio album?
It's funny. Right before you called, Andy Martingelli and I were on a video call going through the plan of what we're going to do. So, basically finishing up the music here through the next several weeks, basically by the new year. Tom's got some more vocals to cut, but it's mostly written. So now we're just basically recording the stuff. We're doing keeper, tracks on everything. And it's about half mixed. Half of the songs are mixed. And the plan is, because we've got tour dates in October, November, 2021, and some of that includes the reschedule of Japan and Australia, as well as some dates across Europe, that we want to basically probably continue to drop a few singles here into the new year. People are really excited about No Cover. At some point, of course, there'll be a Megadeth record, but that a lot of that is going to probably be strategically positioned around shows and touring and everything. Because once that drops, we're going to want to, ramp up and go, with a Megadeth world tour. So, but until then, look, we've worked really hard on this Ellefson stuff. A lot of people like it. We make it like this. We try to make it very engaged, very conversational, very approachable. With our live streams that me and Tom do, the coffee, the books, the records, it's all kind of part of a little cottage industry here, so you're kind of, when you come into our house, it's like, hey, hang out, we got everything. And obviously we're going to put out this Dwellers film in February, that we've been working on through Ellefson Films. I got this new book that I wrote, Rockstar Hitman, that's coming out December 18th through Ellefson Books. So, between books, films, record companies, coffee companies, all the stuff, it's like we got all your entertainment needs satisfied, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I read that you got a business degree. So is what you learned getting the business degree, is this why you're diversifying yourself so much these days?
Well, it's funny. It's funny with college. When I was in school, I'm like, this is such bullshit. It's like, why would you? This doesn't even matter. This is just academic. And I realized part of college is just training your brain to think in a different way. And it goes very against how I normally really just operate. I'm a pretty hands-on, get an instinct, go. Like, what the hell makes a kid from Minnesota drive out to Hollywood and go, I think I'm going to take a shot at being a rock star. You know what I mean? I mean, most people think you're crazy, and you just go, fuck it, I'm going. So, I'm going to do it. And that's just how I've been my whole life. I get an instinct and I follow it. And I think most of these things are gut instinct more than anything. And I just love every day the thrill of a new endeavor. That I think is probably as much of it as anything. It's just like, hey, let's go conquerable. And I think that's the fun of it, and of course music is always at the center of it. Even with the coffee company, it's always kind of music related, and we've, roast for other, famous artists and stuff. So, but, it's, and like you see with No Cover and even, I guess, in the record label, to me, it's more fun if you do it with your buddies. Bring your friends along, invite everybody to the party. We used to have amazing keg parties at my parents' house when my parents would go away on vacation, and we had a nice big house on the farm, and I always loved that. It was like, hey, everyone come on out, Ellefson's having a party, so, that's kind of how I like it to be now. It's more fun to have everybody over and celebrate. And of course, now we're doing a lot of this stuff virtually. But I think that's kind of the heart of it all is, hey, come on over. Let's do this together.
So you've got the Ellefson thing going. You've got Megadeth working on a new album. Are you working on any other musical projects, either with Metal Alliance or Allegiance, or with Altitudes and Attitude?
Well, Frank and I, actually, we were scheduled to be on the Monsters of Rock cruise in February, and I have to think that's probably not going to happen. I don't know that cruise ships are sailing quite yet with COVID. When it does, we've been invited to be part of that. So the goal, a year ago when we were talking about doing it was to, maybe cut another track, to have something out there. So I think with me and Frank, with Altitudes and Attitude, making a record is a pretty big endeavor, just because of, we live in separate towns. We recorded in LA. It's there's schedules. There's a lot that goes to it. The songs are the easy part. I mean, those come really super easy. But we like it to be a band. We like to be in a room doing it together. It's not a record you feel comfortable doing remotely, like we were able to do with No Cover. We did the whole thing remotely. So some records work like that. Most don't. So that's, I think, as we get asked to do things, we'll probably continue to just quickly go in and throw some songs down. I did do a new record with Drew Fortier, who co-wrote Rockstar Hitman with me, and also wrote and directed and stars in the Dwellers film. He and Mike Heller, who's the drummer in Fear Factory, and Raven, ironically, they were working on some tunes, and this is one of these years where people just kind of hit you, go, hey man, you want to throw a bass track down on this? Kind of like I did. Hey, you want to throw a drum or a guitar or a vocal down on a cover record? So, we just sort of do it for free and for fun and just have fun with it. It's, so he sent me some stuff earlier this year, and I played through some bass down on it. It was really cool. It was cool. It was fun stuff. And it's a bit more kind of 90s alt rock, but heavy. It's got some good weight to it. So I went to LA in July, and for over 2 days, I played like 10 songs, just plugged in and cut some tracks with those guys. And that has Vin Dromboski from Sponge singing on it. And that was really meant to be kind of an accompaniment to the Rockstar Hitman book series. So we're mixing it now. We'll see when and where it makes sense for it to come out. It's very cool. I definitely like it. It's a different thing for me. When people send me stuff, look, I get to play in the greatest thrash band in the world with Megadeth. So I don't need to do 10 more of those on the side. In fact, I prefer to not play thrash metal when I'm not in Megadeth. I prefer to, do other things, because my musical palete's pretty wide. Even in rock, it's pretty wide. I try not to say no to things. I try to get in the room. And I played on a couple of pop sessions a couple of months ago. Guy, from LA came over and wanted me. And I initially was kind of just playing bass to like a synth bass thing, and then said, okay, now cut loose and rip some bass lines. So, I'm always up for the challenge. It's fun. As you see, I got an arsenal over here, ready to go. And behind this chair, I just plug in and start cutting tracks, So, but I also go to the studio here. John Eccolino from Icon has a killer studio called the Platinum Underground. So when I need to get, the big tones and everything, I'll go down to his place. He's about a half hour from me here in Mesa, Arizona, and plug in. And John's a wonderful friend, and we have a lot of fun, making music together. So, and John actually played on the on Not Fragile, on the cover record, on the No Cover record here. So, sorry about that.
That's all right.
It might have timed out. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yeah, I didn't set my do not disturb, so sorry about that. But so I'm playing all the time, and that to me is the fun of it. It's just, remember Gar Samuelson's brother, his brother Stu. They both worked at BC Rich when Gar was in Megadeth, and until then Gar was able to leave his job there for a while. And but I remember Stu. We went over to Gar's house one night, and we were talking about creativity. Because I was young, and of course Megadeth was just getting up and running, and I was talking about just creativity, and he said something I'll never forget. He goes, I think the goal with creativity is to just get it started and just keep it going. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go get creative. You can't sort of force it. It's like when it comes, you just go with it. The other day, me and Drew were on the phone. I've already got the second Rockstar Hitman book mostly written. Drew's now working on it as well. That's kind of how we do these books. I sort of frame them out, develop the storyline, develop the characters, get some of the dates, times, and places in place, and then I turn them over to him for all the killings and all the strangling and all the fun Jason Bourne stuff. And we were talking the other day just about a book idea, another one, and I literally sat down and fried my eyeballs on the laptop, and I literally banged out 3 chapters in like 2 days. I mean, maybe even 4 chapters. I just was crushing it. It just came to me, you know. And it was a Sunday. It was chill. It was just, you know, just a few days ago. So I just flipped open and it just go. And that's how things usually work, you know. When you're feeling it, freaking go for it, man. You know, don't put off that creative feeling, because it may not come back and that idea may go away, you know. So I just try to always be in the process.
So let's talk a little bit about your coffee company. How did you get started? I know you were a coffee lover from way back in the day.
Yeah.
I had talked to you in the past and you were all about coffee, but back then it was just Starbucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was the most. In fact, I remember one day I was going around the world on a Megadeth tour, and pretty soon I tried to just put a little daily blog up, you know, a little, hey, here we are in, you know, wherever, Slovenia, here we are in Buenos Aires. And then after a while, I was like, we'd been around the world twice, and it was like, okay, well, now how many Starbucks can I go to, you know? So it was, I think people got the idea, okay, this guy likes coffee, you know? But yeah, the thing came about, you know, so Paul Wagoner from the band Between the Buried and Me, I was introduced to him from a Megadeth production assistant who happened to be on the Shiprock cruise. And literally we had docked and we were at the beach, and she calls me and she goes, hey, I got to introduce you to Paul. And so Natalie's her name, and she really is the one responsible for kind of connecting it, you know, because she knew I was a big coffee freak. And so I got off the boat, I hit Paul, and I said, hey, man, you know, David here, blah, blah. And we just hit it off right away. We just geeked out. You know, he's like a straight edge vegan tattooed modern metal guy, you know. So, you know, we're both metal dudes and stuff, but you know, he and his wife had a coffee roasting business in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so that's basically where it started. He was going to handle all the roasting, fulfillment, shipping. So I'm like, great, you know, put my name on it, send me a check. I thought it would be that simple. And of course, as life goes, it's never that simple. Because quite honestly, he went through some transitions with his roasting business, and we kind of quickly outgrew the size of his business. Because with the way we started Ellefson Coffee Company, we started with Roast and Peace. That was the very first roast. But we started it online, which, you know, funny enough, here in 2020 has been a real godsend, because some of our retail outlets have been shut down or closed or temporarily closed. Yeah. But the retail business, or the online business, has been great. And I offered this year, I said, look, I'll sign the bags and throw some trinkets in, and just kind of, you know, again, keep it fun, man. Make it a fun thing, you know. It's as much the merchandising business as it is the coffee business, you know.
Sure.
The coffee's great, and we go to great lengths to really, you know, we roast. Now I use a roaster right here in town in Phoenix. But, you know, this year being home off the road has been good. I've been able to kind of get in and tighten a few things up with the business. You know, sometimes we start these things and, you know, I'm on tour and things are rolling fast and our empire keeps growing and growing. And so this has been a good year, actually, to just kind of get in and tighten some things up. And, you know, business, it has to always run well, especially as it grows. And sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes your growth, things explode and you're like, whoa, it's like a runaway train, trying to catch up to it, which is a great problem to have, you know, but, so it's been a lot of fun. And again, you know, roasting for like Eddie Ojeda and Autograph and Skid Row. And, you know, we just rolled out the Combat Napalm in the Morning, which is like a super ultra dark roast, as you would expect, with a good kick. It's got, let's see, that's mostly a French roast, but we added a little bit of Guatemala in there, which adds a nice kick. It's got a good oomph in it, you know, as well as the French is always a real nice dark roast. So yeah, so that's the new one that's out. So, but yeah, EllefsonCoffeeCo.com is the ordering link for anybody that wants to order coffee there. And then even in Europe on our Instagram, Ellefson Coffee Co. Europe, our girl Annie over there she's kicking ass, you know, taking care of fulfilling orders across all the UK and Europe as well. So it's working well.
What kind of maker do you make your coffee in?
Right now I have a Cuisinart, which is decent. Starbucks years ago had one that we bought that was great. Because it was like a thermos carafe. So when it brewed, it went into the carafe and it didn't have a hot plate under it. It just sat in like a thermos, right?
Yeah.
So it kept warm because it was in the thermos. The hot plate. And it's funny when you have a hot plate. To me, as soon as it brews, I like to get my coffee because even 10 minutes later, after I've had my first cup, if I go back and get more, it tastes kind of burnt
a little more.
Yeah, it's burnt a little bit, So it's so for me, again, if you're a coffee snob, those are the details, It's not like when you're drinking alcohol that the more you drink, the less you give a shit. Coffee is kind of
Right.
like, once your palate's awake, now you're like, oh, now you're even more hypersensitive to it, So, so the Cuisinart, I don't like those machines that do everything where like it'll grind it and dump it. And it's because sometimes I don't want all that. And then you can't turn the freaking thing off. It's like, dude, I just want to put some coffee in and brew a coffee, and it has to go through these 3-step phases of stuff. And it's like a robot that you can't turn off. So I like just a nice, simple, it's kind of like the printer and the fax and all. It's like, give me 3 separate things so I can control what I'm doing. I don't like when all of it is together,
Have you tried an AeroPress?
I have not. I travel with a French press. I've got a few of them. Yeah, I have a few of them that I travel with. It's funny, Chris Broderick, when he was in Megadeth, he bought me a really good one out of Sky Mall. Anybody who's been flying, the Sky Malls, I don't think is even around anymore, but that magazine they always had at the airplane, right?
Yeah.
With all these kind of fun little gadgets. So he bought me one. This thing was like the Range Rover of frickin' presses, man. This thing was indestructible. So I keep it just because it's toured the world with me for so many years. But I found another one that's your friend gave it to me as a gift. The lady that cuts my hair actually gave it to me. And it's really nice. It's got a nice, very fine filter in it, and it's kind of nice all-in-one press.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. So I like that when I travel for sure.
I highly recommend the AeroPress though. Make the coffee in 2 minutes. Make the coffee 2 minutes. It's $20 for the thing. You just add hot water to the grinds. You mix it up a little bit. Boom, done.
Just the season. I'll put that on the wish list for Santa this year.
Go.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, that's all I got for you today, Dave. Thanks for speaking with Metal Express Radio.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good to chat. Have a good holiday season too. We'll see you in the new year.
You too, man. Take care.
Okay. Yep. See ya. Bye.